I want to ask you about the Vancouver Canucks. They introduced Travis Green as their new
Mhm.
head coach yesterday. Um, they have a very difficult pivot to make as an organization. What what are we going to see in Vancouver? How do they get from where they are now to a team that could start kind of climbing up the ladder again?
Well, first of all, the good news for the Vancouver Canucks is they hired a guy who knows every young player in the organization. And I think that's the key. That's the reason why he was hired. He was supposed to be hired, remember, last November when the Canucks were going south and things were not going well at all. And it didn't happen because Willie Desjardins started winning a little bit more than maybe in October or early in November. So they're going to bring a player, a coach, that knows the system pretty well, which is an asset, and hopefully, and I think when you look at the way he was able to get success with their farm team, you know that he's capable of bringing those young players and making their play in the right role. And I think that's the idea behind his hiring, which is always a good one. They're not going to overpay for a coach that doesn't know the organization. And normally those coaches who are coming in with a big salary wants normally big-time changes. So I don't think we're going to see that soon with the Canucks. Obviously, they need to turn that boat around quickly because it's honestly a problem for this franchise not to make the playoffs and not to have a future.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that with Travis Green, they're going to be a better team starting next season.
Ren, what do they do with the Sedins?
Great question. They should have trade in like 7-8 years ago.
Yep.
It didn't happen. And I'm sorry, is it too late? But honestly, if they would have traded the Sedin brothers, let's say 5-6 years ago, the return that they would have been amazing, okay? And that team would have been a playoff team after that.
Mm-hmm.
By not making that trade, and I understand why they didn't make that trade. They were drafted by the Canucks. We see them, grown in the organization. But at one point, you need to ask yourself, okay, where are we going? What do we need? What's my biggest asset? And what should I do with that asset to get something in return? And you need to think outside the box sometimes. And the fact that they didn't trade the Twins, like I said, 5-6 years ago, maybe that's the reason in the last 2-3 years they're struggling so much. They're unbelievable players, but at one point you need to think about the future and not only about the present.
Yeah, well, and with them being a package deal, obviously, look, they got close, right? They got really close to winning it all with those guys. But the double-edged sword of that's the road they went down with Brian Burke and those, because they're a package deal. It's two guys. It's harder to move two guys than it is to move one guy. And I really wonder, we can talk all about the turnaround, but the beginning of that turnaround has to be somehow finding your way into the post-Sedin era, doesn't it?
It has to be. It has to be. That's the reality. I'm convinced, but it was before. And they're like I said, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame. I think like those are Hall of Famers in my book. Okay, like you said, it's tough to trade two players at the same time, but you know what? At the end of the day, if all the big stars in the league were traded at one point, I expect that, a trade like that could happen. Obviously, there'll be tons of asset in a trade like that, but I'm sure it would have really, really helped the Canucks because when 3-4 years ago, every players wanted to get out of that organization, it should have been a signal for management and the owners to say, oh, we have a problem here. All our best players wants to leave. So there's an issue, and we're not going to get better. So let's make a move.